Following program contains language and subject matter that you may consider unsuitable for children. Parental discretion is advised.
Greetings from His Highness the Jackal.
The Jackal.
I'm going to pass the reins to Mr. Jackal, the new king of radio.
I think Jackal's Latino. I'm not sure, but he'll give it to you, Jeff.
The Jackal.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Inside the Jackal's Head, right here again, live on PSN Radio. Now with me is the man of the hour, the one and only, our good friend, and filmmaker extraordinaire himself, Terry Wickham. Thank you so much for being on the show, my friend, and I love having you back on. You're a gentleman, a scholar, and you always have fantastic T-shirts, and that is a killer shirt in more ways than one. I got to start with that. Awesome T-shirt, bro.
Thank you, Angel. I appreciate it.
Love having you on video. I think this is the first time we've done an actual video format / audio for both sides. So it's really cool, man. Give us an update. What's been new in your neck of the woods?
Well, next Friday, October 2nd, I have the first ever, believe it or not, the first ever worldwide release of any film I've ever made. The movie's called Gruesome Threesome. It's an anthology film that has 4 movies that I directed, all of them. And what happened was, about 4 years ago, I had a friend of mine, James Balsamo, who's another director, come over to my house. We were kind of exchanging each other's work. He saw some of my old films and he said, "What are you doing those old films? Could people watch those?" And I told him no. I said 2 of them were from a movie called Evil Streets, which sold out back in the late 90s, and they've never been available on digital. And then the other movie was called Hair of the Dog, which was a 45-minute movie I made in 2003. So he said to me, "You ought to make a new wraparound and put those 3 movies together with the wraparound and call it a new name, because people should be able to watch those." So if it wasn't for my friend, I would have never made this movie. So I shot the wraparound about 3 years ago. I had another feature film I was working on over the last 2 years called Double Vision. It's actually called Terry R. Wickham's Double Vision, kind of like John Carpenter's Halloween. And it was a big film.
Is it like Terry Wickham presents Double Vision?
Yeah, it actually just says like Terry Wickham's, it comes out first, and then Double Vision, and then my name disappears. Just like John Carpenter's The Thing, John Carpenter's Escape from New York. I did that because Carpenter...
I know you're a big fan of The Thing. That's one of the things we bonded on, because we're both our fans of John Carpenter's work, and The Thing is phenomenal. So.
Oh, absolutely. So that's why I did it. I was tipping my hat to the master.
That's awesome. And when can we expect the first one to come out, and when is the release on it?
So Gruesome Threesome is next Friday. So we're talking 5 days away. It's going to be on vimeo.com/on-demand/gruesome threesome.
How awesome is having these streaming platforms now, for filmmakers, man? It's so much, easier to really get something really great acknowledged. And you don't have to go through a lot of the process of getting it in a theater format. And streaming is the future, especially with the Kung Flu. We're gonna be doing a lot of streaming in the near future. So this is, I think, the perfect time for directors like yourself to take advantage of stuff like that from the indie market.
Absolutely, and I think that I don't know how many people know out there, but when you release a movie through a distributor.
Mm-hmm.
You have to hire an agent to get the distributor, because the distributors usually won't take unsolicited material. So the agent's not free. So you got to pay the agent, which probably costs between $1,500 to $3,000. So now
if you're lucky, yeah.
Now you're laying out movie beyond the cost of the movie made. And then when you get to the distributor, they make you closed caption it yourself. They make you get E&O insurance, which is about $3,000.
Yep.
So all said and done, after you've made a movie, you have to lay out another 10 grand just to get your movie released. And then what they do is they take the first 15, 20 grand that sells and then split after that with whatever split they agree. So you're not seeing money till a long ways down the road. And then that's even if you see any money.
Yeah.
So I decided to bypass that. And my company is releasing Gruesome Threesome for the first time myself. So I'll see all the profits. I can give it out however I feel, whoever worked on the films. And I can watch it. I can control it. But of course, now the responsibility is on me to promote it. So thank you for helping me get the word out.
No, man, I love, anytime that you have anything, I love just helping any way I can. And this is really awesome to like think about. You did a wraparound to your own movies. This is really neat as a concept, because it's almost like Tarantino-ish also in a way, like the way I'm assuming you put this together. Everything obviously is going to be intertwined, correct? So it'll be like a smooth transition one to the other.
Yeah, the four movies involved. The first movie, well, the wraparound. Well, I'll go by. So the first movie within the movie is called The Downfall of Johnny Garrett.
Right.
That was, get this is going to shock you. That was made in 1996.
Wow.
It was originally written by my friend Michael Knight, who unfortunately passed away about 2 years ago. Before he died, my friend had already suggested doing this, make a feature out of these old films. So I contacted Mike, and I wanted to make sure I got his blessing. He unfortunately had bone cancer. And so, yeah, so thank you. Yeah, so he said, Terry, you could take the movie. The only thing I ask is, could you cut down the scene with the girl walking so it's shorter? Because that was originally part of Evil Streets. So I said, absolutely. So I cut it down. We made it shorter. So he wrote the first short story that movie was based on, and together we adapted it back in 1996. The second movie within the movie is called Stunk, and that stars the beautiful big boob legend Serena Lee.
Okay, I'm going to Google her later.
A worldwide sensation. Her saying was, Marilyn Monroe, but 10 times bigger where it counts better.
Ah. I got you.
Can you dig that?
Oh, I can definitely dig that. That's right up my alley, so to speak.
Yeah, and not only was she incredibly beautiful and sexy and all that, but she was very smart. She was from Jacksonville, Florida.
Ah, fellow Floridian, awesome.
She had believe it or not, she had been an actress in high school during all the productions and stuff. And then when she got out, obviously she went into the not adult movie platform, but she was what was known as a featured dancer. So she was going across the country to gentlemen's clubs all over the United States, making a lot of money. And I had contacted her because there was another movie I was developing called Perishing Hearts. And I wanted a girl that was really busty. And I didn't see any actors that had as much as I was looking for. When I saw Serena in a magazine, I decided to reach out to her, see if she might be interested in this other movie. It took a long time. That was before the internet. So I had to send a snail mail letter to her.
Did you write her a dear Serena, like?
Yeah. It took her 5 months to respond.
That's how mail was, boys and girls. It used to take some time. Yeah. Now kids have it great. They have like instant mail. Like, write something 2 seconds later, it's there.
So like after 5 months waiting, she responds back and she said, absolutely interested. And what happened was during that time, like I said, those two other movies were for another feature called Evil Streets, which, by the way, was created by Michael Knight, the guy we just talked about who died. So, and by the way, Gruesome Threesome, because of Mike's involvement and because he did pass away, the movie is dedicated in his honor. So at the end of Gruesome Threesome, you will see a picture of Mike, and I wrote some kind words to honor my friend.
That's awesome. That's great.
That's right. I had to be respectful, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. No, and I'm sure his family also would love to see that, and I'm sure they're going to see the screening of the feature. So I'm sure that they're going to get a kick out of that.
I already let his wife see it, who's still survived him, and I'm not sure if she showed it to the kids or not. Some of it might be too rough for kids, but
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to warp their young impressionable minds just yet, you know.
yeah, just to finish out the story, the third story within the movie, which is Hair of the Dog, which
Hmm.
is the longest out of all four. That
That's
was
what
written
yeah, that was not that long ago when you filmed that one, right? That was
a little more recent. It was in 2003.
yeah.
And that was written by a guy named Tim Clark. I wrote the story with Serena. So I
Okay.
wrote that. I designed it for her. And then Tim Clark, Timothy David Clark, he wrote and produced Hair of the Dog. I directed it. And then my editor and DP on that was Sean McGann, who was so important to that project. He did so much work. He was insane. But the whole reason I told you the whole story is because the wraparound, I reached back out to Tim.
Mm.
And I said, "Tim, would you have any idea how we could include those three other movies with a new wraparound?" And he said, "I already have an idea. Can I write it?" And he goes, "I'll have it quick." So he wrote it one night.
Oh wow.
Read it the next morning. It was like 6 minutes, which is perfect for a wraparound.
Right. Yeah.
It was funny. It was witty, and somehow Tim connected it so it all works together. So
Nice.
that's pretty cool, right? So and we shot that in 2017 in 4K.
Wow. So it's in 2017. So this started in 96 to 2003, the filming. Then 2017, wow, this is amazing. And now in 2020, we're finally gonna get to see this. This is phenomenal. This is what dedication and hard work, pays off.
Thank you. And I think the cool thing too, when you're watching it, hopefully,
Yeah.
you see a progression that the movies get better because I'm learning. Like anyone, I'm getting
Yeah.
better at the more I do it. So I'm very proud of those movies, especially Hair of the Dog. Hair of the Dog to me was one of my feathers of my cap so far in my
Hmm.
career. I had such a good experience on that. The music was by David Helpling, who's one of my favorite composers. We had some great acting by Chris Weir, John Dylan Howard, Doris Daney, Melanie Collins Brown. That was a really good cast, and that was the first one's kind of a supernatural film. So
Hmm.
as a viewer, you're going to get a chance to see like the dark supernatural aspect. Then with Serena, you get the boobs and also like a slasher. And then with the Hair of the Dog, you get like a murder mystery. So it's a little different. And then the wraparound kind of is a little bit of each.
That's awesome. Well, I can't wait to see it. I mean that sounds like really original too. I don't think I've heard too many movies that first of all were in that kind of time span and when you were directing them, but then to like go ahead and do a wraparound these many years later, have it fit in. This is like it's perfect movie magic, really, when you think about it. When things are like they come together that easily. You said he did it in one night. He wrote the scene, how to wrap it around. That's just it was karma. It was like a destiny to be put together like that. That's the
Thank you.
beauty of movie making.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't forget to talk about the people that worked on the wraparound that were really good. I cast one of the actresses that was in Devil's Five. Remember Devil's Five?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
That's how I became a really mostly aware of your work. I was like, oh wow, that's really cool.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Devil's Five won Best Horror Film 2 years ago at the Hell's
Yeah.
Kitchen in New York City. So one of the actresses from that movie, Shanice Renee,
Hmm.
plays the lead character in the wraparound. And then I cast an actor named John Logan, who plays her boyfriend. And it's a real topical setup. Tim came up with this idea that this couple that are dating can't be together this one night, so they stream watching this anthology called Gruesome Threesome.
Nice. So it all connects.
So those three
It,
are the ones they watch.
You could kind of call this the Terry Wickham universe. Kind of like the View Askew.
And by the way, Gruesome Threesome was also shot by Adrian Popscu, who was my director of photography on Abandoned,
Hmm.
which was part. And to be honest with you, he's just incredible, just amazing talent behind the camera, and it just looks amazing. So, and then I had Hasim Turkey, who scored The Devil's Five, do the wraparound music. So
Hmm.
it's got we've got all these talented people that work on these movies I've done.
That's awesome. I was watching some of the clips that on YouTube with yourself, shooting some of the scenes and stuff. And I was like, look at him go, man. He's a professional.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Um, yeah, well, I'm really, and the fact is, I've been making movies for 30 years,
Yeah,
and this is the first movie of my whole career that's a worldwide release. I control it. I own the rights to it. I don't have to answer to anybody. And because of the things we just mentioned about how you have to pay for an agent, how you have to pay
yeah,
for this, I think filmmakers out there should take control themselves. So
yep.
they hold in their court, they see the money, they see the returns, and they can do what they want.
No, and it's funny because we've been in lockdown this whole year with the whole COVID stuff, and for filmmakers, that especially that want to do stuff for streaming, like yourself who want to take this avenue. This is actually a really good time to get a lot of locations that are going to just be abandoned anyway, to be able to film it, and a lot of really cool locations you can just go film something quick and boom and get out of there. Technology has gotten to the point it's made it easier for the filmmaker also. Well, yeah, you still have to stage certain things, but if you know what you're doing, you can get quick shots and really make it like you're in a living universe that might be going through some craziness and spooky stuff. Because everybody's locked down. There's like, I go in the streets, man, and there's like, it's a ghost town at night. There's nobody there.
It's a great point, and in
Yeah.
relation to what you're saying, next Sunday, October 4th, I'm directing a music video, which is the first thing I'm doing during COVID, and it's a music video for one of the songs off the original soundtrack for my latest movie, Double Vision, which
Right.
won best Double Vision won Best Thriller back in January, and I'm actually directing the music video, and the guy I just mentioned, Adrian Popscu, is going to shoot it for me. So we're doing that next Sunday at abandoned military facility in Queens. How cool is
There you
that?
go. Yeah, there you go. There you go. I was talking to a couple of buddies of mine who are filmmakers, and I was like, "How you guys not taking advantage of like, there's so many locations now that you can just go and shoot something, and a lot of times you don't even really like got to go and get all kind of paperwork. Just go and shoot it. Nobody's there. Nobody cares. Like this is just amazing right now for like filmmakers, and honestly, I think the ones that are going to suffer in the long run are going to be the big studio companies. I think this is the big downfall for a lot of these major corporations. Disney starting to feel the crunch, which is funny. You think about the Disney Corporation; they're such a large company, right? But even, I mean, they're huge. They own everybody. But now they're regretting buying Fox because they're like, oh man, everything's starting like, slow down. There's no income. Movie theaters are closed, and they're starting to do all their streaming stuff with, their tempted with Hulu and Disney Plus, and they're into all these things. But there's so much competition that for the corporations like those, a lot of them are going to go belly up. Disney might not; they might survive, but there's a lot of them that are going to go belly up. The ones that are going to really, really, I think, come out on top are the filmmakers. The filmmakers are going to be the ones that are going to completely like succeed because now you're the property owner of your own material. You don't have to go through a third party, fourth party, fifth party, like you said, pay all these extreme amount of money, which is also going to be, a blessing for the pocketbook for whoever does fund a lot of these movies. The technology is making it cheaper, faster, better, and easier. Plus, now with this, less of an obstacle in the way, it's a blessing for filmmakers. I mean, you can make amazing movies for a fraction of what they used to cost.
I think, yeah, and I agree with you. And I think it's so important that the filmmakers start to take control
Yeah,
because when you don't have to answer to another party, I think in the end, the audience is going to benefit too, because I think the biggest problem in Hollywood right now is it seems like movies are made by committees. They must have a bunch of executives that
Yep.
sit down on a table. I can picture like the filmmaker or writer at the end of the table saying, well, we think you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. They're making decisions for the filmmaker instead of the other way around. When you go back to the 70s and you think about what George Romero did, even in the late 60s with Night of the Living Dead, what Tobe Hooper did with Chainsaw, or what John Carpenter did with Halloween, those movies were made by those filmmakers, not by a corporate, conglomerate of executives making decisions. That's our biggest problem in Hollywood right now.
Yeah.
Everything kind of like a think tank, and they think that, oh, we'll put this together. That's a big mistake, because if you notice, all the movies are kind of just like eating fast food garbage.
Yeah, and it's recycled material. Like you see the same thing over and over again. And I've been saying this for years. A lot of people always say, "Why do movies suck nowadays?" It's not that they suck; it's that you're looking at the wrong material. A lot of the best movies are coming in from independent directors, from those bunch of studios, because that's where the real talent is. There's no studio that really houses talent like back in the day, like when you had the George Lucas, John Carpenter's, Steven Spielberg's, guys that they trusted to make a movie and said, "All right, here's the budget, here's the money, make your film." Or they would make the film and then go to the studio and have the studio back the release of the movie through the funding of the actual releases, like Fox was the distributor for Star Wars and Indiana Jones and all these properties, and that's how some directors did it back then. We're going to start seeing more of that, I think, where the directors are going to have all this more power now because of the way things are. And now, if you want to play along, it's not like before where the studio had all this upper hand. Now they have to almost go more by what the director wants, because the studio structure has destroyed a lot of franchises. And what's the saying, go woke and go broke. That's one thing that's happening in Hollywood, and a lot of them are feeling it right now. And that's why I think you're starting to see more of a shift, where you're going to see directors like Zack Snyder and the Snyder Cut and all these different things that they're starting to say, well, let's give the director more of the leeway instead of trying to put everything into a box that the studio has 300 people mandating every shot, every scene, and 300 heads working on one project. That doesn't turn out well. And it takes away from the creativity of the person that should be the one creating the project, which is the filmmaker, the director.
Absolutely. And, with our political society today, everything's so politicized. And I
Yeah.
don't think movies need to be. I mean, honestly, I think you need to have some sort
It's
of.
an escapism. That's what it is. That's what movies always been, to escape reality.
We should have fun. We should go to the movies,
Yeah.
whether the fun's to be scared, whether it's to get you excited erotically or to make you laugh or romantically. And it shouldn't be, I don't think everything should be like researched by, test scores of audiences and make a decision.
Correct.
That's the wrong way to do it. You got to
Yeah.
come up with something that has some sort of meaning that's deeper than that has more passion and vision than that. And I think that the studios are scared to death
Hmm.
to try something new. They want to go with what they think is going to make money, and it's usually the opposite of what I think they should actually do. They've got to go for original content, because if you think about it, long term they're killing themselves. It's
Yeah.
not going to last long term. You've got to. I look at look at TV shows, right? I'm not a big TV guy, but I recently watched the show Cobra Kai,
Oh,
and it was
right here. It's so good.
amazing.
Yes.
And those writers took the original characters, brought the same actors back. They had the balls to make them gray characters. They were not black and white. Johnny wasn't just a villain, and
Right.
he wasn't just a good guy. Daniel has some problems, and Johnny's actually not a bad guy. And they
Yeah.
had balls to change that, and I think it's freaking brilliant. That's what and it is, you could tell the writers controlled that show. That's what filmmaking need to do.
Mhm.
Give it to the directors, Let them make the movies. I guarantee we're going to see more interesting stuff. Then Halloween again, and a remake of Elm Street, and a remake of Friday 13th, and a remake of Carrie, and a remake of Texas Chainsaw. Give us new stuff. We're never going to better those original films. Those original films are classic for a reason. Let's make films, because the truth is, I remember I heard John Carpenter one time. They asked him if he wanted to make Fatal Attraction. They actually asked him before the director ended up doing it. And Adrian, and he goes, "Do you want to direct it?" And he goes, "No, because I can't make it better than the way Clint Eastwood made Play Misty for Me, which was basically Fatal Attraction was the takeoff of that."
Right.
So he goes, "I can't do better than Eastwood did." So he turned it down.
Yeah, look at that.
I think Adrian Lyne still did a great job.
Yeah.
But you could see Carpenter's reasoning, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a hit film, Fatal Attraction, but yeah, I could definitely see the reasoning behind it. It actually reminds me of Death Wish with Charles Bronson, that was later remade with Bruce Willis, and I'm like, why would you do that? I mean, I love Bruce Willis. Don't get me wrong, I'm a diehard fan up to part 3. Then after that, it kind of like
But Bruce Willis is not Charles Manson.
He's not Charles Bronson. No.
I said Manson. Slip of
Yeah. Wrong Charles. But he's no Charles Bronson. I'm a huge Bronson fan. Death Wish, as growing up, look, Charles Bronson and Clint Eastwood, like you mentioned, were two of my favorites growing up. Sylvester Stallone, Rocky, Rambo, favorites growing up. Those are classic. You can't remake the classics. And the one thing that I hate about Hollywood is how everything has to be rebooted, remade, restructured, and brought into a diverse agenda-pushing politics. Don't do that. And that's what I love about the independent scene is it's original content, and that's what sells. I had this discussion, Terry, and this is funny. We're in this conversation on another show not too long ago, where I was talking about the movie Black Panther. We lost the tremendous actor Chadwick Boseman, who passed away, and I was talking about that movie a year before it came out. People are saying, well, it'll make 300 million, 250 million. And I was like, this is going to hit $1 billion. And everybody's like, oh, you're crazy. There's no way it's going to hit $1 billion. And I said it. I was like, listen, the movie's still it was like 8 months away, almost a year away, right, at that point. I said, this movie is going to be phenomenally huge. Whether it's good or bad, it's going to do phenomenal numbers. They were like, why? I'm like, because we've never seen Black Panther before on screen. It's new. And people are catering that new. That's why they keep failing with Superman. That's why they're not making money with these legacy characters, because we've seen it over and over again. Yeah, I love Superman, but it's only so many times you can see the origin of the same character over and over again. And Black Panther we've never seen. So that was a perfect segue.
How did you like the way the writers are controlling Cobra Kai?
Oh, it's awesome. Well, the thing I love about Cobra Kai and the writers is they were fans beforehand, and they took it upon themselves to write the script for the pilot and come up with the concept, and then they approach the actors with it, and they're like, listen, we don't have the rights to do this yet, but this is what we want to do, and this is what we have in store. And it's funny because one of the producers is Will Smith, who was a producer, of course, on the remake, the Karate Kid remake, which, by the way, should be called the Kung Fu Kid, because at no point are they doing karate in that movie. So I don't understand why they even call it the Karate Kid. But anyway, that's just my take on martial arts. What do I know? I just studied it for 10 years. He said, even Will Smith was like, yeah, this is a really good idea. And he produced the TV show. He helped them produce it. Now they just transitioned from YouTube to Netflix, much bigger audience. Terry, this is crazy. The first 2 seasons, which aired on Netflix, it's already the most watched show ever in streaming, ever.
Yep. I'm not surprised.
Every record. It's amazing.
I'm not surprised, and I've told everyone that I crossed to see it, because when I watched it, not only were the actors great, especially the original cast, but the writers freaking killed it. You could tell that show was not made by executives.
Mm-hmm.
Made by three guys who had a passion and had a story. And what the executives or studio behind that did smartly was let them do their thing. That's what should happen more often. If they did
Yes.
that, we would be in a better world filmmaking wise.
I agree 100%. And then we wouldn't see as many remakes and reboots. We'll see continuations because that's what Cobra Kai is. It's a continuation. People are like, oh, they're going to reboot it. No, it's not a reboot. It is a direct continuation. 30 years later, you're right back in the world of Mr. Miyagi, Daniel LaRusso, the Cobra Kai, Johnny Lawrence. You even see the death of one of the Cobra Kai members in the first season. Spoiler alert. It's a beautiful thing as fans to go back and have that nostalgic feeling of when we were kids and we saw the movie in theaters. That's another thing. It brings back that memory, that feeling of being there and watching it for the first time, the first, the sequel, the third. Hell, I even saw the next Karate Kid in theaters. I'm not gonna, deny it. I saw it. Hilary Swank wasn't good, but Mr. Miyagi was in it, and even they were able to incorporate Pat Morita into a little bit. God bless his soul; he's passed on now, but they were able to kind of incorporate, the essence of who Mr. Miyagi is. And now in the new season coming up, they're even going to go to Okinawa, and they're going to open that up a little bit more. You could tell there's the passion of the writers and the filmmakers. They really want to make this just continue to be successful, and that's the same kind of atmosphere that more films need. These are the same kind of people, and they are like you because these are
Yeah.
filmmakers that have the passion for filmmaking. These are the
Yes.
filmmakers that succeed. Not, yeah, some of the big names like the J.J. Abrams of the world make a lot of money. But you can tell their creativity has gone down to they've gone to that fame, towards watered down material. The passion is still there with the people that really care for the material source. And
Yes.
sometimes they just take jobs to take jobs. I always love filmmakers that do things that are either original to them only or something that is so passionate of theirs that their head is completely focused on making it the best thing possible. And you're one of those filmmakers. You make passion projects that you're involved in from the very beginning to the very end, and it's something that you bleed basically. It's
Yeah.
not just music. So
And that's definitely gruesome threesome. I mean, if you look, how many people would have stuck with a movie or a series of movies that from that long of a period of time, they might have just thrown them in the closet, forgot about them. But I literally resurrected them out of the ground, so to speak, to bring it out to the world. And one of the things my friend was saying when he watched those movies was there's a whole audience that's new that hasn't seen that look that was back from the 90s with that a little bit grainy, not quite perfect look because we shot those on SVHS. That
well, imagine those.
before red cameras, before all this stuff. So we didn't doctor that footage. We didn't change it. It's the way it looks. So my friend said there's a whole audience that likes that vintage look. And that's legit. I mean, the way you see it is the way it is. And what's cool about Gruesome is you get to see that look and then you get to see the look of 4K too. So it's got a mix. And Hair of the Dog was shot on mini DV. So that's even got like a different look than the other two movies. So we've got a real conglomeration of different like kind of history of video look. And I think that's going to give it a unique touch.
That's awesome. Like I said, I can't wait to sit down and eat some popcorn and start watching it and get all stuffed out.
But when anyone that wants to pre-order the movie before next Friday, they will get free 2 digital alternate posters that have never been seen of Gruesome Threesome. And I got to tell you, they're pretty cool. They look awesome.
Nice.
But we had chosen the one. I chose the one. So that will be something that they'll get after they buy it. I've had people already buying the movie. And after the second, they will no longer get that choice. So it's kind of like a little bonus.
Right.
And also, anyone who buys the film will get 2 documentaries free. And they were made at the time those movies were made. So the movie's 91 minutes. And then one documentary about working on the Serena episode, the Stock episode. It's called A Walk Down the Streets, Evil Streets of Stock. It's 79 minutes long.
Wow.
You get to go in Serena's dressing room where she's getting dressed. You get to see us. You get to see us with the cranes and all the stuff we used in the movie. I did an interview back then talking about how we made it. So that's a free documentary with the same price of the movie. And I also threw in another documentary, The Making of Hair of the Dog, which is about 24 minutes long. So you can either buy the movie for $13 or you can rent it for $7. If you rent it, you get it for 48 hours. If you pay $13, you get all of them and you own them.
Oh, it's worth buying it for sure. I mean, you get all that extra footage and all that extra like goodies. Have you thought about doing like a full commentary, like with some of the members of the crew and stuff, like actual like commentary, like scene by scene?
Oh, I would love to do that. I haven't done it yet, but it's something I would love to sit down and do. Some of the stories I could tell about those movies would fascinate people.
Yeah.
One scene in Hair of the Dog, for example, where there's something with the chainsaw, and we were using a real chainsaw, and we had a dummy, and the dummy had a shirt on, and at one point we had to figure out what the chainsaw was going to actually. We're so low budget, we didn't take the teeth off, so they were really. So we talked a lot about what was going to happen. Is the chainsaw going to go into the dummy? Is it going to go up the shirt? And one of the actors, the lead actor, Chris Weir, said, I think the chain is going to grab the shirt and it's going to climb up the shirt. Now, the makeup artist that designed the dummy, he didn't make the arms very long. So as director, you have to be mindful of the cast and crew. So
Right.
I decided to take the arm on this side of the dummy. And the producer, instead of using crew, we didn't want to put someone in harm's way that could get hurt. The producer writer, Tim Clark, took the other side. We talked about it for like a half hour, 45 minutes. And then when we did it and we're filming it, that's exactly what happened. The chainsaw went into the shirt and it started climbing up the shirt really fast. And at the last second, it went my side. I went like that. And the chainsaw just missed my arm.
Oh, wow.
I could have got cut by the chainsaw. That's a real
Oh,
story.
wow. Wow. So you put your life on the line almost.
I do that for my movies, which is crazy. But
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I'd love to do a commentary, because some of the stories I could tell about making these films would blow people's mind.
Yeah, and that's what, at least if you don't do a commentary, that's the cool thing about having you on a show like this, so we can kind of like discuss certain, like inside stuff like that. See, I was gonna kick out of talking to filmmakers and hearing like some of like the stuff that happens on set when they film certain scenes, because as an audience, we watch them and sometimes we don't get that we're actually seeing something that almost led to somebody being physically really badly hurt. And they stay within the film a lot of times. They keep those cuts when nobody gets seriously hurt, obviously, and they get a good shot. But as fans, we don't like really appreciate sometimes like the filmmakers and what they go through to get some shots. I mean, filmmakers go through a lot. The thing is just you point the camera and go. That's not always how it goes, especially when you're dealing with prosthetics. You're dealing with animatronics, or you're dealing with practical effects, which can blow up in your face, or a chainsaw that can cut you. I mean, these are dangerous things you guys deal with. But again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's the passion of the filmmaker.
Absolutely. And something else some audience might be interested in hearing is in little things like this, like in Hair of the Dog,
Mm-hmm.
there's a nurse scene, which I won't say too much to not ruin it for people. It's one of everyone's favorite scenes when you see the movie. I can't tell you why. It's kind of a movie within a movie within a movie.
Okay.
And we've got these three sexy nurses doing the scene.
Look at you going all Tarantino on us, movie within a movie within a movie.
It's supposed to be an adult movie, and we don't go as far as an adult movie, but we had to make it seem like it was an adult movie. So
Gotcha.
we do this scene with these nurses. One of the actresses that played one of the nurses was an actress named Jedediah Billa.
Okay.
You could look her up on when we get off the phone or even now, she ended up playing Assistant Nurse N. We call her that for a reason. I don't know if I should say her whole name because remember it's adult movie.
Right,
So
right.
as Assistant Nurse N, she ended up being later, like 10, 15, 12 years later, one of the co-hosts on the very popular TV show, The View.
Ah,
Think how big that is.
yeah, no kidding.
Like with Whoopi Goldberg and all those
Yeah,
people.
yeah. Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg. Yeah, The View.
On The View for like, I think 2 years. She
Oh
ended up
wow.
going huge. She's in Hair of the Dog.
Oh wow, that's awesome. I mean, that's a. I mean, I'm not a big fan of The View, but I mean, that's a really big, show to put somebody who's on that show in a movie. That's awesome.
How
I
cool
mean,
is it?
just yeah, no. I mean, especially if she starts promoting it.
I
That's
don't
a yeah,
I don't know if she'll promote it because what she's doing now pays big money and all that. She's on TV all the time. She's on
yeah.
Fox now. But
If she could even acknowledge it on Fox, imagine how big that would be.
she's, when I was casting her, obviously she wasn't as who she is now. But I
Yeah.
remember she was a little bit reluctant to do the movie, probably because of the scene. And I remember telling her, it's a serious film. It's not an adult movie. I said it's actually taken for humor. And I kind of convinced her. Obviously, she decided herself. I didn't know her before that film, but she ended up doing it. And she was really good in the scene. But I do remember she was one of the hardest to convince to do it
Mm,
because she was kind of more like a social political commentator for like news stations and stuff like that. I
right,
think she
right,
was,
right.
but anyway, so you can see how she moved into that area of the world.
That's awesome. So you got her right before she blew up on The View.
Tells you I have good casting instincts, right?
Yeah. You know how to spot the star.
Exactly.
The gold.
Yeah,
That's called the golden eye for those in the business.
absolutely, absolutely. And the other thing I was going to say to you is, in when we were doing the downfall of Johnny Garrett, uh, there's a scene in the movie where this guy attacks a girl, right? So I had to watch a lot of movies that had rape scenes.
Ooh,
And I did that because I wanted to see how not to do the scene. I remember my wife saying, "Aren't you nervous about doing this rape scene and how that's going to be connected with your name?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to do it very tastefully. I still got to give it power so it hits the audience." So I had to watch like all these movies with rape scenes, which was not pleasant. And I don't usually do that. But I did it because I wanted to see how not to do it because I didn't want to cross the line. And
right.
it was kind of hard to kind of go through and watch that stuff.
I
But
can imagine. I mean, yeah, that's not easy material. But if you're a method actor or a method director or a method filmmaker, I mean, you sometimes you got to take that plunge, and it's not fun. I remember reading when Nicolas Cage did 8 mm, which is a snuff, movie, a movie about gruesome stuff, and he had to research this stuff, and he was like, my God, like a lot of this stuff really happens in the world, and he talked about that. Now he for a long time he was like a little bit mind warped because of the movie, and he's just, man, imagine he's the actor in the movie.
oh, absolutely. And
Yeah,
the stuff, the injuries that you could get, and it's not for people to feel sorry about me and stuff, but you take those chances, especially on low budget film. I try to be
yeah,
safe, and no one's ever been severely hurt on one of my films, thank God. Knock on wood. But,
yeah.
but when I was doing Johnny Garrett, it just came back to me just now. There was a scene where a girl has a little bit of a seance, and she's like trying to contact a dead friend. So she's reading a Ouija board. She's using a Ouija board, and she's looking through this book that has these spells. And I remember when we were setting up the scene, I was lighting these candles, and I actually shot that scene myself. I did the camera, and I remember at one point there was this like kind of a spike with the candles, and I'm putting the candles on, and the spike went right into my hand. I had to get
Ooh.
I had to get a tetanus shot the next day because it went right into my hand.
Oh man, see, again, putting yourself in the line of fire for your movies. That's amazing. That is dedication, guys. That's what a filmmaker does. Man, were you back on set like the very next day saying, "See, if it's if I could take this, I don't want to hear no complaints the rest of the filming.
Yeah, when you're a director, you honestly have to be like the Terminator. Like
Yeah,
nothing can stop you because the truth is everything is going to try to stop you. Whether it's the actors getting tired, the weather
yep.
coming in, changing, running out of money, running out of light, running out of time, actors, crew getting tired. You have to be an unstoppable juggernaut. And
And the
that's just
worst is when the scene just doesn't work off paper, and you're like, "Oh my God, it's so good on paper, but it just doesn't work," and we have to now rewrite it on the fly.
you've
That's the
got
worst. Yeah,
you've really got to be aware of what's going on when you're shooting. You
yeah.
got to you got to have a pulse on the crew, on
Hmm.
the actors. You can't control everybody, but you got to kind of keep aware of that because sometimes you might have to cut out shots, make things happen differently to pull off a day, get what you need. That's a talent that you learn, especially over time, to make things happen and make things work. And it's something I'm very good at.
Yeah, no, yeah, you definitely come a long way, brother. I mean, look, you've put in the time,
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
and it's paying off. I'm happy for you, man. I'm really excited that this is gonna be released because I've always, we've talked about your films in the past, and I'm like, man, this is a person who needs to have something major actually, released to a platform that a lot of people can, take advantage of, and not just be some like underground, independent type of filming. And this is finally coming true. I'm happy to be alive to see it happen.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, and just besides the Vimeo release next Friday
yeah.
on Vimeo.com on demand, gruesome threesome, Devils Five
Hmm.
is being released by a distributor. We went that route. It's one of the
That's
reasons.
awesome.
It's one of the reasons why I chose to do my own this way because we
Yeah.
did Devils Five by paying a rep, by doing the distribution deal. That's coming out early next year on Random Media, and
Hmm.
I think it's going to be
Cool.
everywhere that you get it. So I've got two movies coming out, and Double Vision will be next. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. I'm still looking at all the avenues and trying to figure out what's best for the movie. But so Gruesome Threesome next Friday, Devil's Five next spring, and sometime probably shortly after that will be Double Vision.
Nice. And what's the website everybody can go in right now again and take advantage of early purchasing of the movies, like getting everything the popcorn ready so they can buy it and enjoy all the extra goodies. Like what can we send the audience again?
Yeah, so that's Vimeo.com. That's Vimeo.com / on demand / gruesome threesome.
Gruesome threesome.
One guy that I emailed that it was up because he was a guy who asked me for the movie like 5 years ago when
Hmm.
Serena, so he wanted to buy Evil Streets. I said, it's no longer available, but when I come out with this new movie, I'll let you know. So I sent him the email the other day. He sent me an email back and said, purchased it. And I've got my popcorn ready to watch it Friday night.
I'm gonna be right there. Here's a question for you because I've always wanted to ask you, and you always seem like somebody that I would think would be just a knockout with this kind of movie. A dark. Now I know that you like the horror genre. We know that. So it'll be a dark movie, but a dark western. How would you like direct? How would you feel about directing something like that?
I would like to do something like that. I would be open to it. I've never written a script like that or developed a project like that yet, but I was certainly a fan of Clint Eastwood back
Yeah.
in the westerns. I grew up with that on TV. I didn't see those in the movie theater. I was too young, but I did see him. High Plains Drifter, The Man with No Name. So obviously, and then the stuff he's done since then, Outlaw Josie Wales,
Hmm.
uh, the movie with Gene Hackman, Unforgiven, back in the early '90s.
Yeah.
I would be open to that because I grew up with that as a boy.
That I think will be a great fit for you. Have you seen his son, Scott Eastwood? Looks just
Oh,
like him.
I have not seen any work from him, but I've seen his daughter. I believe she's an actress, right? That
Also,
I've seen.
yeah, yeah.
And by the way, speaking of westerns, not to go off Clint Eastwood, but I also like Tombstone a lot. That was
Yes.
Wasn't the
Yeah.
cast that?
Mm, that was phenomenal. I'll be your Huckleberry. Are
I
you
thought
kidding?
Val Kilmer was awesome in that playing the guy with tuberculosis. Wow.
Yeah. Well, Val, I feel bad for Val Kilmer. He's really had a rough decade and a half now. But man, he was so good as Doc Holliday.
Oh, he was
So
awesome.
good.
Kurt Russell, right? Is he?
Yeah.
Kurt
He also
Russell.
played. Yeah, remember that was the year that they both played Doc Holliday, and they both came out, and everybody's like, "Wait a second, which is the better one?" And I'm like, "That's a tough one because I'm a Kurt Russell fan, like big time fan, and Val Kilmer, like he's been spotty at times, but he nailed it. Also, as Doc Holliday. I mean, he was. They were both really, really, really good. That was one of the rare occasions we have two phenomenal actors tackle a role, and you're like, my God, they're both really good in two different interpretations.
Yeah, I'd definitely be open doing a dark western. Yeah, that would
Yeah,
be fun. It'd be very cool.
I think that'd be awesome for you, man. Look, man, the best of luck in the future. I can't wait to see, the films and see what you got next. I mean, do you have already something in mind coming up next after this, or?
Yeah, in fact, it's something that I'm already in the process. I took a little time when I was done with Double Vision back in January. I had to take some time away from movies because I had been working on Devil's Five, Gruesome Threesome,
Yeah,
and Vision for basically 3 years. So I
yeah,
took about a month and a half. Everyone kept asking me, "What's next? What's next? What's next?" And for about a month and a half, I could not answer it. I didn't want to think about movies. So after I did that, I was thinking about what I really wanted to do next, and there were a couple little kind of like projects in the fire. Um, there were these two black directors that wanted me to do a black exploitation movie. I liked the idea, but I didn't like it as much as what I'm deciding to do. I wrote a script about 16 years ago called Anomaly. It's a paranormal research supernatural ghost story.
mm,
It's the balls out horror film. It's very serious, little to no humor. And I want to make one of the scariest movies ever made, top 5 or 10 ever. And the script reads like that. So I guess you could say after I made my decision, it was almost by fate. Like a month later, in March, I decided. And like in April, my director of photography I like to work with, Adrian Popscu, said, "What's the next movie we're making?" And I said, "I want it to be Anomaly." And he goes, "I read that like 3 years ago. What did you think of it?" And he goes, "The first 25 minutes are unbelievable. But after that, he felt it was a little bit complicated, had a lot of characters. So he said, would you be opposed to kind of streamlining it a little bit?" So over the summer, I've had my script editor, David Mellinson, look at the script. He came up with some ingenious ideas. We didn't like really turn it over, but we
mm-hmm.
tweaked it. And he finished it about 2 weeks ago. In that time we were doing that, unrelated, I got contacted by an actress from Devil's Five, Diana Norris, who's
I remember her. Yeah, yeah, I remember her.
also a producer.
Yeah.
She said to me, "Do you have any script that I could look at potentially as a producer? I have an investor and myself, and we might want to produce your movie." So just today,
Cool.
after she signed a non-disclosure agreement, because the movie, Angel, not every movie could go all the way. I know that.
Yeah.
You could make a movie as good as you can. It still may not have the property to go all the way. This one
Correct.
could go. This one could go all the way. This could be another Evil Dead. It could be a Halloween. It could
Nice.
be Nightmare on Elm Street. It's got that quality. So I sent it to her this morning after she signed the non-disclosure agreement, and she's going to read it.
Oh,
So
cool.
what happens? I think me and Adrian are going to figure out shooting a little trailer for it. We're going to pick a scene or two, and we're going to probably film that in the next short while.
Nice. Any locations you're looking at in particular? Or?
Definitely want to film a lot of the exteriors at Sandy Hook, New Jersey, which is
New
a
Jersey.
military base that's now a national park. It's for real. We built a story around it. I don't know if we can shoot the whole movie there, but we want to shoot some of the exteriors there for sure.
Oh, that sounds awesome, dude. That sounds phenomenal. I can't wait to, like, a year from now, talk about that.
And I got to tell you, it's out of all the movies I've ever made in my entire 30-year filmmaking career, or that I could have made, it's the one that's the nearest to my heart. This is my baby. This is my baby. This is the one I have to make. Like some movies you might need to make or might want, I have to make this.
This is your Halloween.
Yeah, this is my Halloween, and I see every scene, every shot, clear as day, with music, edited. I've got the movie right in my head, and I've had it in my head. I've had it in my head for 16 years.
I can tell. I have a script that I've been writing for the last 4 or 5 years, and it's the same way. Like, I have the scene shot already planned out in my head, like if I was directing it. And I'm like, I just want to put it in the script. I'm not a director yet, but I'm not a filmmaker, but I have like the ideas really how it would plan out. So I can imagine a person like yourself has been involved. How you already have like the opening sequence, how it segues to one scene to another, where the characters will play with each other. Like I said, a year from now, hopefully everything is kind of like similar back to normal, and we'll all get to like eat popcorn together and enjoy the film. Just make sure that there's a seat available for a chubby bald guy like myself, so we can go and watch it together in theaters.
Absolutely. And Anomaly, what I could tell you about Anomaly that I would say is that because I cultivated it over 16 years, it has the advantage that a lot of movies don't, that are made quicker than that. So it's got all the years of thinking about it. I've had a couple of people come aboard, so to speak, that were friends that gave me not most of the ideas, but little tweaks here and there. And there's like it's the type of movie that's not made with cheap scares. It's the kind of movie
So
that
no
will
quick jump scares or anything like that. No, that's awesome.
This is
There's
the
too
real
much
thing.
of that. There's too much of that in horror movies, to be honest with you.
Oh
Way
my
too
God.
much. Yeah.
This is one that will crawl under your skin, make your hair stand up on end, and chill your spine. That's the kind of movie. And it's a movie that there's like 8 scenes you will never ever forget.
Yeah, that's awesome. Terry, we're all out of time. Unfortunately, we have to get going. But my God, man, it's the hours just flown by. I can't wait to have you back on and real soon, so we can touch base again. Let's not be a stranger and wait so long to have you back on the show, because you're a gentleman, a scholar, and I'm dying to see this. In fact, as soon as I watch the film this Friday, I'm gonna contact him. I'm gonna be like, I saw it, and I'm gonna give you my review.
Perfect. That's a good deal.
I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna give you a YouTube video review just for you.
Awesome. I totally appreciate that. And again, folks out there, vimeo.com/on-demand gruesome threesome /gruesome threesome. Support independent filmmaking. That's what we need, because that's what's going to give you guys great films.
Yep. Hey, you should really look into like doing what I'm doing with Patreon, and doing a Patreon page for yourself, and that'll help streamline a lot of these projects and help your current filmmaking in the future. It's a good way to go, man. Like I said, there's so many avenues to help filmmakers, and God bless you for sticking by it, man. It's gonna keep paying off. I guarantee you. You're definitely destined for greatness. Thank you so much, Terry. You're an awesome gentleman, and again, cannot wait to watch the movie.
I can't wait till you see it, and I can't wait to hear what you thought of it. And thank you again for all the support. I truly appreciate it.
We'll talk again soon, my friend.
Okay. Good night, guys.